The twin suns of Orath burned brightly over the rocky plains. Their light touched the jagged mountains and cast long shadows across the alien ground. The people of Orath gathered on a wide arena of stone, waiting for another show of strength. The center of attention was always the same: a dragon beast with wings like thunder and scales that shone like molten fire. Its master, Torin, stood with arms folded. He was tall, his skin marked with tribal paint, his voice sharp and mocking. Torin had raised the dragon beast from its birth, and only he could control it. To him, the creature was proof of his people's superiority. No outsider, especially not a human, had ever stood before it without trembling. The beast was chained to a pillar of steel, though the chain rattled each time it shifted its body. Its eyes glowed like burning coals. Every breath it took sent smoke curling into the air. When it spread its wings, the crowd felt the air push against their faces. The people whispered, some with awe and some with fear. This was no mere animal. To them, it was a force of nature, and Torin was its master. Torin laughed, his voice echoing across the arena. He pointed at a young warrior from his clan who had boasted he could approach the beast. The warrior had trained for years, his muscles strong and his stance steady. Yet as he stepped closer, the beast let out a roar so fierce that the young man stumbled back, falling on the hard ground. The crowd erupted in laughter. "See," Torin shouted, "no one but me can stand before this creature, not even the bravest of my kind. And humans dare to call themselves explorers, weaklings all of them." The people cheered, their voices rising with pride. It had become a ritual. Warriors from different clans came forward, tried their courage and failed. Each time Torin grew prouder and louder in his mockery. The dragon beast remained untamed, bowing only to him. On this day, however, the crowd whispered about something unusual. A human girl had arrived in the city. She was young, not a soldier, not armored, and not armed. Her name was Mira. She walked with quiet steps, her hair tied back, her eyes steady. She was not tall compared to the alien warriors, yet there was something about her calmness that drew attention. Torin sneered when he saw her. "Another human who thinks she can prove herself? You will run away before you even reach the chains. Go back, little one. This is no place for you." But Mira did not leave. She stood at the edge of the arena, watching the dragon beast. The creature roared again, its voice shaking the stone under her feet. Dust rose into the air. The sound was enough to make seasoned fighters back away, but Mira did not move. Her gaze was fixed on the beast, not with fear, but with a strange gentleness. The crowd grew restless. Some shouted for her to leave. Others laughed and placed bets on how quickly she would turn and flee. Torin raised his arm to silence them. "Let her try," he said with a cruel smile. "She will last less than a breath." The chains rattled as the beast pulled hard against them. Its sharp claws scraped the stone, leaving deep marks. It lowered its head slightly, eyes glowing brighter as it noticed the human girl. Mira stepped forward slowly, her movements steady. Her boots made soft sounds against the stone, each step deliberate. She stopped a short distance away. The heat radiating from the dragon beast was intense. Any closer and most would have been drenched in sweat, their courage drained. Mira took a deep breath and lifted her chin. "You are not a monster," she whispered, her voice soft, almost carried away by the wind. Yet the beast tilted its head as if it had heard her. The crowd fell silent. Never before had they seen the creature pause at the sound of a voice. Torin frowned, his confidence shaken for a brief moment, though he quickly masked it with another mocking laugh. "Talk all you want, human. Words will not save you. That beast cannot be tamed." Mira did not answer him. Her attention remained on the dragon beast. She noticed the scars across its body, the way its wings twitched as if restless, the way its eyes were sharp yet weary. She saw not just danger, but also loneliness. The beast growled again, testing her resolve. The sound echoed across the arena, but Mira stayed firm. She crouched slightly, lowering her posture, making herself appear less threatening. Her hand reached out, though still far from touching the chain. She kept her palm open, showing she held nothing. "Do you think she is brave?" someone in the crowd whispered. "No," another replied. "She is foolish." "She will die," Torin smirked. He loved seeing outsiders fail. Yet a small part of him could not ignore the way the beast had not lunged at her already. The dragon beast's breath grew heavier. Its eyes locked onto Mira. The silence was thick, every ear straining to hear what would happen next. Mira's hand trembled slightly, but she did not withdraw it. Instead, she steadied her breath and continued to speak softly. "You are strong, stronger than anyone here. But strength is not everything. You want someone who understands, The beast let out a low rumble, not a roar, not a growl, but something different. The crowd gasped. Even Torin's mocking smile began to fade. The creature lowered its head a fraction, just enough that the chain shifted. Mira stepped forward once more. She was still far from touching it, yet she had already gone further than most had dared. The crowd's laughter had vanished. Their eyes were wide, their voices hushed. Torin broke the silence with a shout. Enough, do not think this proves anything. A single step does not make you its equal. It is only waiting to strike. One wrong move and you will be nothing but ash. But Mira did not retreat. Her calm expression remained and her eyes never left the dragon beast. She had not won its trust yet, but she had not lost either. For the first time, the people of Orath wondered if Torin's words might not be true. For the first time, the dragon beast looked less like a monster, and more like a mystery waiting to be understood. The suns lowered slowly, casting red light across the arena. The shadows grew long and the air grew cooler. Still, the girl stood before the beast, her hand outstretched, her voice gentle, and her courage unbroken. That night, stories spread across the city. People spoke of the human girl who did not flee. They spoke of the beast that listened. Some laughed at the tale, dismissing it as nothing more than chance. Others whispered that something greater had begun. Torin sat in silence long after the arena had emptied. His pride told him to ignore what had happened, yet a small doubt had taken root. For years he had mocked every human who dared to come close to his beast. For years he had believed none of them could stand against its power. But now one had, and she had done it without raising a weapon. The sun rose again over the rocky plains of Orath. The arena where Mira had faced the dragon beast was still marked with scratches and burned stone from the night before. Yet the whispers of what happened filled every street of the city. Children repeated the story to one another with wide eyes. Traders shared it with passing travelers. Warriors argued about whether it was true or just an illusion. A human girl had stood before the dragon beast and had not run away. Torin walked through the city with a scowl on his face. His pride was wounded, though he would never admit it. For years he had mocked humans and claimed none could match his strength or his bond with the beast. But now people questioned him. Some even said the beast had listened to the human girl more than it listened to him. That thought burned inside his chest like fire. When he returned to the arena, he found a crowd already waiting. They were not there to watch him. They were waiting for Mira. She arrived quietly, her simple clothes dusty from travel, her face calm as always. She carried no weapon, no armor. She looked more like a wanderer than someone about to face a creature that had frightened whole armies. Torin stepped forward and blocked her path. You think you impressed them yesterday. You think standing still makes you brave. But the beast is mine. It answers to no one else. Mira looked at him without anger. Her voice was soft but steady. I do not want to take it from you. I only want to understand it. Her words made the crowd murmur. Understanding was not a word the people of Orath often used for beasts. To them, creatures were tools, weapons, or threats. They were controlled through strength or chains, not through kindness. Torin laughed bitterly. Then step forward again. Let us see if your understanding will save you a second time. The chains rattled as the dragon beast stretched its wings. Its roar shook the walls of the arena, sending birds scattering from the cliffs above. Torin crossed his arms, expecting Mira to flinch. But once again she stood firm. She took a slow breath and walked toward the beast. The crowd grew silent. The heat around the creature grew stronger with every step she took. Its eyes glowed like fire in the dim morning light. Smoke rose from its nostrils. Every movement promised danger. Yet Mira did not stop. When she was close enough, she lowered her head slightly and raised her hand the same way she had the day before. Her palm was open, her body relaxed. She did not show fear, only calm patience. The beast leaned forward. Its teeth gleamed. Its claws scratched against the stone. A sound rolled from its throat, deep and sharp like thunder in a storm. Many in the crowd stepped back. Even some of Torin's own warriors looked uneasy, but Mira began to speak softly. Her words were not commands. They were simple sounds, steady and gentle. The crowd could not hear them clearly, but the dragon beast did. Its head tilted, and for a moment its breathing slowed. Torin clenched his fists. He shouted, "Do not be fooled. It is only curious. One more step and it will crush her." Yet his words carried no weight, for everyone could see that the beast was no longer snarling as before. Its wings lowered slightly. Its eyes narrowed, but not in anger. Mira's presence was changing the air itself. Then something happened that no one expected. The beast moved closer. The heavy chain rattled as it dragged across the stone, but instead of lunging, it lowered its head even more. Mira reached forward and touched its snout. A sound filled the arena, a deep rumble, not of rage but of content. The beast's eyes closed halfway, and the tension in its body faded. Gasps echoed across the crowd. No human had ever laid a hand on the creature and lived. No warrior of Orath had ever tamed it with a touch. Mira stepped back slowly, her hand falling to her side. The beast did not roar. Instead, it watched her calmly, its chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. She bowed her head slightly as if to thank it. The silence in the arena was heavy. Then the whispers began. She touched it. She touched the dragon beast. No one has ever done that. What does it mean? Torin's face burned with anger and disbelief. His voice cracked as he shouted, "Trickery!" She used some trick. The beast is mine, and mine alone. But even he could not deny what everyone had seen. After the crowd dispersed, Mira remained in the arena. She sat on a stone ledge, her eyes still on the dragon beast. Torin approached her, his steps heavy with frustration. "You think this proves something," he said. "Do not mistake a single touch for control. That creature could end you whenever it wishes." Mira looked at him with calm eyes. "It does not want to end me. It wants to be seen as more than a weapon. You treat it as a tool, but it is alive. It has a heart." Torin turned away with a scoff, but her words stayed in his mind long after. In the days that followed, Mira returned again and again. Each time the beast grew calmer when she approached. Sometimes it lowered its wings to let her near. Sometimes it rumbled softly as if speaking in its own way. She spoke to it every visit, her words steady and kind. She never raised her voice, never forced her will, only offered patience. The people of Orath gathered each day to watch. Some came out of curiosity, others out of disbelief. But all saw the bond slowly forming. Children whispered that the human girl had magic. Elders debated whether she had been chosen by the spirits. Warriors argued that no alien should ever outshine their best. Torin grew restless. Each day his control over the beast seemed weaker. When he commanded it, the beast obeyed, but without the same fire. When Mira spoke, the beast listened with focus. His pride felt like a stone pressing on his chest. One evening, Torin tried to prove his strength. He ordered the beast to roar and strike the chains with its claws. The creature obeyed, but when Mira stepped into the arena, it grew calm again. The crowd saw the difference. They whispered that perhaps strength alone was not enough. That night, Torin sat alone on the cliff above the city. The stars of Orath spread across the sky, countless and cold. He thought of Mira's words. He thought of the look in the beast's eyes when it was with her. For the first time, he wondered if he had been wrong. Mira, meanwhile, walked through the quiet streets. Some of the city's children followed her, asking questions. "How did you do it? Were you afraid?" She smiled gently and answered simply, "I was afraid, but I did not let fear decide my actions. I looked at it not as an enemy, but as a living being." Her words spread like seeds in the wind. Some took root in the hearts of the people. Some resisted them, clinging to old pride. But the change had begun. The dragon beast, once a symbol of fear and strength, had listened to a human girl. And every day she returned, the bond grew deeper. By the end of the second week, the people no longer mocked her. They watched with awe. Torin no longer laughed. He only stood in silence, his pride fighting against the truth that was unfolding before his eyes. The truth that strength alone was not what the beast desired. The truth that a human had begun to unlock what no warrior of Orath could. And deep inside, though he would not yet admit it, Torin knew that the story of his beast was no longer only his to tell. The city of Orath had never been so restless. Each morning the people woke with one question in their minds. Would the human girl return to the arena today? They gathered in groups, some on the steps of stone towers, others in the markets where traders laid out their goods, and all spoke about Mira. They could not forget the sight of her hand resting on the snout of the dragon beast. The creature that had terrified warriors for years had bowed its head before a human girl who had no weapon. Children played games in the streets, where one pretended to be Mira, and another pretended to be the dragon beast. Elders argued about whether this meant the world itself was changing. Some said it was dangerous to let an outsider form such a bond. Others said it was a sign of hope, that maybe the beast was not only a weapon but also a friend. Torin heard these words wherever he went. His pride was heavy and his heart burned with frustration. He had raised the beast, fed it, trained it, fought beside it. Yet it seemed that Mira had done in days what he had never done in years. She had touched not just its scales, but its spirit. He could not understand how. When Mira entered the arena once again, the crowd grew silent at once. They had stopped laughing at her long ago. Now they watched her with wide eyes, waiting for what new wonder she would bring. Torrhen stood at the edge of the arena with arms folded, his jaw tight. He wanted her to fail, but he also wanted to know what she would do next. The dragon beast waited near the center. Its wings shifted slightly and its eyes glowed in the light of the rising suns. Yet when it saw Mira, its body calmed. It did not roar. It did not lunge. Instead, it lowered its head as if expecting her touch. Mira walked forward slowly. Her steps were steady, her voice gentle. "I am here again," she said softly, though the words were more for the beast than for the people. "You are not alone." The creature rumbled deep in its chest, a sound that rolled across the stone. This time, instead of stopping at its snout, Mira walked to its side. She moved carefully but with quiet confidence. She placed her hand against its scales. The heat of its body was strong, but she did not pull away. The beast shifted slightly, allowing her to walk beside it. The crowd gasped as Mira stepped closer to the beast's wing. No one had ever dared to be so near to that part of its body. Its wings could sweep aside a group of warriors in an instant. Yet when Mira reached out and touched the leathery surface, the beast only lowered its wings further, letting her hand glide across them. Torrhen's throat tightened. He wanted to shout that it meant nothing, that the creature was only tolerating her. But the truth was clear to all. The dragon beast trusted her. Mira spoke again, her voice calm. "You are strong, but you do not need to roar at everyone. You do not need to fight all the time. You can rest." The beast lowered its body, lying down upon the stone floor. The chains clinked as its weight pressed against the ground. Its head rested near Mira's feet. The crowd had never seen such a sight. Warriors who had once mocked her now looked at her with awe. Elders whispered that perhaps the beast had chosen her. Torrhen stepped forward at last. His voice was sharp. "You think this proves anything? Do you know what that creature is capable of? Do you know how many battles it has won for my people? It is not a friend. It is a weapon. And weapons obey strength." Mira turned to him. Her eyes were calm, her words simple. "It is more than a weapon. You call it beast. You treat it as tool. But it listens because it wants to be heard. That is not obedience. That is trust." The people murmured at her words. Some nodded, some shook their heads, but none could deny what they saw with their own eyes. Torrhen clenched his fists. He could not allow himself to be defeated by a human girl with soft words. That evening, he went to the training grounds and called for the beast. He wanted to prove his control once again. He shouted commands, ordering it to rise, to roar, to strike. The beast obeyed, but without the same fire as before. Its eyes did not shine with fury. Its wings did not move with full force. It looked tired, almost unwilling. Torrhen felt the sting of doubt pierce deeper. Meanwhile, Mira sat outside the arena with a group of children. They asked her many questions. Why does it listen to you? Were you scared? Will it fly with you one day? Mira smiled at them. I was scared, but fear is not stronger than kindness. It listens because I listen too. Maybe one day it will fly, but only if it wishes. Her words spread through the city once more. Each day, more people began to see her not as a foolish human, but as someone who had revealed a truth hidden in plain sight. The dragon beast did not only want power, it wanted a bond. The turning point came one stormy night. Lightning cracked across the mountains and the winds howled over the plains. The chain that held the dragon beast shook under the force of the storm. Guards rushed to the arena, worried that it might break free. Torrhen was among them, shouting orders. But when the beast roared in fear and anger, none of the warriors could calm it. It thrashed against the chain, its wings striking the stone, its claws digging deep lines into the floor. The guards held their weapons but dared not step closer. Then Mira appeared. She had run through the rain, her clothes soaked, her hair plastered against her face. She ignored the shouts telling her to stay back. She entered the arena and walked toward the beast as lightning lit the sky. Her voice rose above the storm, calm but strong. I am here. You are not alone. You do not have to fight the storm. The beast roared again, but when it saw her, its movements slowed. Mira stepped closer, raising her hand. She touched its snout once more. Slowly, its breathing calmed, its wings lowered. Its claws stopped tearing at the ground. The guards lowered their weapons in disbelief. Torin stood frozen, rain streaming down his face. The storm raged above, but inside the arena there was peace. Mira stayed by the beast's side until the lightning faded and the winds grew quiet. By morning, the story had spread across the city. The human girl had calmed the dragon beast during the storm. She had done what no warrior could. From that day, the people of Orath no longer gathered to see her fail. They gathered to witness something new. Each visit, she and the beast grew closer. She began to guide it, teaching it to follow her gestures, to walk beside her instead of dragging its chain. The beast responded, step by step, until the chain seemed less a restraint and more a formality. Torin could not ignore the truth any longer. His pride was still heavy, but his eyes had seen what words could not deny. The beast was not his alone. It was not bound by strength or fear. It had chosen, and it had chosen Mira. The bond between Mira and the dragon beast was no longer a rumor. It was a truth that every person of Orath had seen with their own eyes. Days turned into weeks, and each day Mira entered the arena. The crowd gathered not to laugh but to watch in silence. What had once been a place of mockery had become a place of wonder. The dragon beast no longer roared at her approach. Instead, it lifted its head in recognition and rumbled softly, a sound that carried through the air like distant thunder. When Mira placed her hand on its snout, the beast leaned forward as if seeking comfort. She spoke to it in her calm, steady voice, words too quiet for the crowd to hear but strong enough for the creature to listen. Torin stood by every day, his heart twisted with pride and anger. He had mocked humans for years, claiming none could match the bond he had with his beast. Yet now, before the eyes of his people, a human girl was proving him wrong. Each moment she spent with the beast was a strike against his pride. One morning, the elders of Orath summoned Mira to the council hall. The hall was carved from the mountain itself, its pillars rising like the trunks of ancient trees. Flames burned in tall braziers, casting long shadows across the stone floor. The elders sat in a circle, their faces stern. Torin stood among them, his arms crossed, his eyes sharp. "You are a human," one elder said. "Our people have always been stronger than humans. Yet you have done what none of us could. You have touched the dragon beast without fear. You have calmed it in storms. You have guided it with nothing but your voice. How do you explain this?" Mira stood in the center of the circle. She bowed her head respectfully before answering. "It is not strength that binds the beast to me. It is trust. I do not see it as weapon or tool. I see it as life the same as mine." Some elders frowned at her words. They were warriors, raised to believe strength was the highest measure of worth. But others nodded, for they could not deny the truth in her actions. Torin stepped forward, his voice rising. "Do not be deceived. She speaks softly, but softness will not protect us. This creature has won battles for our people. It has struck fear into our enemies. Without strength, it is nothing but danger. Without chains, it will destroy us all." Mira looked at him calmly. "It does not need chains if it has trust. If you treat it with respect, it will stand beside you willingly. You may fear losing control, but true control is never taken by force. It is given freely." The hall grew silent. Her words were simple, but they cut deep. The elders dismissed her with heavy thoughts in their minds. The next day, Torin decided to test Mira. He called the people to the arena and declared, "If she truly claims the beast listens to her, let her guide it without chains. Let us see how far her trust carries her." Gasps echoed through the crowd. To remove the chain was unthinkable. The beast was too powerful, too dangerous. But Mira stepped forward without hesitation. She placed her hand on the iron clasp and looked into the beast's eyes. "It is your choice," she whispered. "I will not force you." Slowly she unhooked the chain. The heavy links fell to the ground with a clatter that echoed like thunder. The beast was free. The crowd held its breath, ready to flee if it attacked. Torin's heart pounded. He was certain it would prove her wrong. But the beast did not run wild. It did not roar or lash out. Instead, it stretched its wings wide, shaking off the weight of the chain. And then it bent its head low toward Mira. She reached out and touched its snout. Together they stepped forward, side by side. The crowd erupted in cries of shock and awe. Never before had they seen the beast walk freely beside anyone. Mira guided it across the arena with only her gestures and voice. When she stopped, it stopped. When she walked, it followed. Torin's face turned pale. His pride crumbled with each step she took. Later that night, when the arena was empty, Torin approached Mira. The fire of anger burned in his eyes, but beneath it was something else, something softer. "You shame me before my people," he said. "For years I have been the master of that beast. I believed my strength was proof that humans were weak. Yet you show me otherwise. How can this be? How can you do what I cannot?" Mira looked at him with compassion, not triumph. "You see the beast as servant? You chain it because you fear losing power. But trust is not about fear. It is about respect. It is about giving as much as you receive. That is why it listens to me." Torin turned away, unable to answer. Days later, their world faced danger. A rival clan, envious of Orath's power, sent raiders across the plains. They sought to steal the dragon beast and use it as their own weapon. Alarms rang across the city. Warriors rushed to defend the walls. Torin stood ready with his blade, but his thoughts were heavy. Could he call the beast to fight as he once had? Would it listen to him anymore? Before he could act, Mira entered the arena. She placed her hand on the beast and spoke softly. "Danger comes. Will you help me protect these people?" The beast lifted its head and roared, not in anger but in strength. It spread its wings and followed her out of the arena. The people watched as the human girl led the creature into battle. The raiders had never seen such a sight. They expected a wild monster chained and forced forward by its master. Instead, they faced a beast that moved with purpose beside a human girl. It struck with wings and fire, scattering the raiders. It stood like a wall of flame, driving back those who dared to approach. The battle ended quickly. The raiders fled, their courage shattered. The city of Orath was safe once more. When Mira returned with the beast, the people bowed their heads. They no longer questioned her place among them. They no longer mocked her kind. For the first time, they saw humans not as weak outsiders, but as beings with strength of their own. Strength born not of force, but of spirit. Torin stood before the crowd. His pride was broken, but his voice was steady. "I mocked humans. I mocked everyone who dared to come close to my beast. Yet today I see the truth. The beast chose her not because of chains, not because of power, but because of trust. Perhaps we were blind, and she has opened our eyes." The people cheered, not for Torin, but for Mira. She bowed her head humbly and placed her hand on the beast's snout once more. From that day, the dragon beast was no longer a symbol of fear alone. It was a symbol of bond, of unity, and of respect. And the human girl who had once been mocked was now honored as the one who made it look easy. But though peace had returned, Mira knew the journey was not over. She had shown them a new path, but whether they would follow it or fall back into pride was yet to be seen. The bond she had formed with the beast was only the beginning of a greater story that stretched beyond the walls of Orath. The camp was restless after the rival clan's attack. Fires burned low, and the alien warriors spoke in hushed tones about what they had seen. For years they had believed that no human could ever stand near the dragon beast without fear. Yet a human girl named Mira had proved them wrong. Not only had she touched the beast, she had guided it in battle. And together they had turned back enemies that even the strongest warriors hesitated to face. Torin, once so proud, now sat in silence at the edge of the fire, his arms crossed, his mind storming. He could not ignore the truth that his dragon beast obeyed Mira more willingly than him. He had raised the creature since it was small, teaching it to hunt and to fight, but his bond was built with force and command. Mira, however, had built hers with patience and kindness. The alien warriors approached Torin cautiously. They were unsure whether to mock him for being replaced or praise Mira for her strength. But none dared laugh because they had seen the dragon beast bow its head to the girl. That sight alone told them she had earned a respect that no other had. Mira sat quietly with the beast near her, its massive body curled beside the fire like a watchful guardian. She stroked its scales, whispering soft words that seemed to soothe it more than any command ever had. Her voice was not loud, yet it carried weight. The warriors listened, though they did not always understand her words. What they did understand was the calm and peace that flowed around her whenever she spoke. The next morning, the camp leader summoned Torin and Mira to the council tent. Inside, elders of the clan sat in a circle, their faces stern. They had heard many stories in the night, but they wanted to see for themselves the truth of what had happened. One elder asked Torin directly, "Is it true that your dragon beast follows the human girl more than you?" Torin clenched his jaw, his pride fighting with honesty. At last he gave a slow nod. Yes, the beast answers her call. A murmur spread among the elders. They turned their gaze to Mira. The eldest leaned forward and said, Tell us, human child, how did you gain this bond? No warrior has achieved what you have. Mira lowered her eyes for a moment before lifting them again. Her voice was calm but steady. I did not try to control it. I only listened. I gave it respect. I did not see a monster. I saw a soul that wanted to be understood. That is why it trusted me. The tent was silent for a long moment. Then one elder spoke softly. Perhaps we have been blind. We believed power meant domination. Yet this human shows us that power can also mean compassion. Torin felt the weight of those words. His pride was still wounded, yet deep inside he knew they were true. He had always mocked humans for their weakness, but Mira's strength was of a different kind, one that no blade or claw could match. Outside the tent, more challenges waited. The rival clan had not been destroyed, only driven away. Scouts returned with news that they were gathering again, planning to strike harder. The council turned to Torin and Mira together. You must fight side by side. The beast has chosen both of you. Only together will we stand. For the first time, Torin looked at Mira without mockery. His voice was quiet when he said, We will fight together. The beast trusts you and I will trust you as well. Mira gave a small nod. Then we fight not as rivals but as partners. The day of battle came quickly. The rival clan stormed the valley, their warriors riding scaled beasts of their own. The ground shook under their charge and the sky filled with dust. The alien warriors of Torin's clan formed their lines, shields raised, weapons ready. At the front stood Mira and Torin with the dragon beast between them. When the enemy beast roared, Mira stepped forward. She placed her hand on the dragon beast's snout, speaking softly to it. The massive creature spread its wings wide, and with a thunderous roar it answered her. The sound carried across the valley, shaking even the enemy's courage. Torin shouted commands to his warriors, and they surged forward with renewed strength. Yet it was Mira and the beast who broke the enemy's line. The dragon beast charged, sweeping aside enemy mounts with a single lash of its tail. Fire burst from its throat, scattering warriors who thought themselves fearless. Through the chaos, Mira's voice guided it. She called to it not with commands but with trust, and the beast answered every time, striking exactly where it was needed. The alien warriors watched in awe, realizing the human girl was leading their greatest weapon as if they had fought together for years. The battle raged for hours, but the enemy could not stand against the combined strength of the clan and the bond between Mira and the beast. At last, the rival clan broke and fled, leaving behind the field and their pride. When silence returned, the alien warriors lifted their voices in victory. They cheered for Torin, for the beast, but most of all for Mira. The girl who had once been mocked now stood as the savior of the camp. That night, the council honored her. A great fire burned in the center of the camp, and the warriors gathered to tell the tale of the battle. They spoke of how the beast had obeyed Mira, how the enemy had fled before her courage, and how a human had taught them all a new meaning of strength. Torin approached her quietly, his pride tempered by respect. I mocked you, he admitted. I mocked every human who came close. But you proved me wrong. You showed me that true strength is not in forcing obedience but in earning trust. For that I thank you. Mira smiled, her hand resting on the dragon beast's scales. We are stronger when we respect each other. That is something your people and mine can both learn. The beast rumbled softly as if agreeing. Its massive head lowered beside Mira, but its gaze flicked to Torin as well. In that moment, Torin understood. The bond was no longer only Mira's or his, it was shared. Together, human and alien had found common ground in the heart of a creature they both loved. The stars shone brightly overhead as the camp celebrated. Stories of that day would spread across worlds, tales of how a human girl had made the impossible look easy. And in those stories, others would learn that sometimes humanity's greatest gift was not strength of body, but strength of heart. The dragon beast lay peacefully by the fire, its wings folded, its eyes half closed. Mira leaned against its side, tired but content. Torin stood nearby, no longer mocking, but watching with quiet respect. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. From that day forward, no one would doubt the power of a human spirit again. End of Part 5.